Greetings one and all, and welcome back. In today's video, I'm going to wrap up the 80s section of the Harmony Illustrated Encyclopedia of Rock and offer my thoughts and opinions of not only the groups and solo artists mentioned, but whether or not they actually belong in this particular section of this great book. So, without any further hesitation, let's get into it. In the last video, I finished with the Pretenders, which closed out the P's, so we'll start the R's with REO Speedwagon. Now, I realize that they hit the big time in the 80s, but they were quite active before that and were very popular among my friends back in high school, so I'm not sure that they really belong here. I remember listening to their live album at parties and whatnot in the mid to late 70s, and Roll with the Changes from the album You Can Tune a Piano But You Can't Tune a Fish, some title, am I right, was a solid rock track. Good stuff indeed. Riding the Storm Out was another of my favorite songs, and that came out back in 1973. Gary Richrath was one hell of a guitar player, and his solos were indeed epic. He left the band in 1989 and went solo. I was truly shocked when I saw some of his later pics where he gained so much weight. Quite the difference, but apparently he could still shred on the guitar. Sadly, he passed away on September 13th, 2015. They kept touring and recording right up to September of 2024, when they apparently broke up over irreconcilable differences. We'll just have to wait and see if this resolves itself or not. Time will tell. Next up is B.A. Robertson. I have no idea of who this is, so let's move on. Rush. Hells yeah. Rush are an amazing band and were a very big part of my musical upbringing back in high school. I strongly disagree with their inclusion in the 80s section of this book because they were huge way before that. Working Man was a staple of radio stations, and we played it over and over again at our social gatherings. I even got to see them in 1980 during their Permanent Waves tour for only $8. Can you believe it? I could spend hours talking about this dynamic group, but we're short on time. I just want to say that I absolutely love these guys. Sadly, we lost Neil Peart on January 7th, 2020. The news came out of nowhere for me, and I was absolutely devastated. I had no idea that he was even sick, but that's what happens when you don't keep up with the news that matters. Rest in peace, old friend, and thanks for the music. The Ruts. Yeah, never heard of these guys. So let's go take a look and see what they were all about. Okie dokie, we have some guy called Segs on bass and lead vocals, Dave Ruffy on drums, Paul Fox, lead guitar, Gary Barnacle, there's a hell of a name, keyboards and saxophone. Okay, London punk band, The Ruts, formed in 1978 with a lineup of Segs, Davey Ruffy, Paul Fox, and Malcolm Owen. Their first release, the single In a Rut, was recorded for the People's Unite label run by roots reggae collective Misty in Roots. Subsequently, the band signed to Virgin Records, but their interest in the reggae/new wave connection continued with such singles as the charting Babylon's Bernie and Jah Wars, I don't know. Their debut album, The Crack, was released in October of 1979. Lead singer Malcolm Owen had for some time been fighting a battle against heroin addiction. Oh my. But on July 14th, 1980, at a time when he seemed to be winning, he tragically overdosed in his parents' bath. Oh my goodness. Another drug overdose in a bathtub? You may recall that this is how Pete Farndon of the Pretenders died. Man, gotta keep away from that shit, no doubt. Okay, it goes on and says the band decided to tie up the loose ends with a final album as The Ruts. So in October of that year, Grin and Barrett, a compilation of previously recorded rare and live tracks, was released. And so forth and so on, and it says the band took on Gary Barnacle and changed their name to Ruts DC, releasing an album, Animal Now, in May of 1981. In Wikipedia, on July 16th, 2007, the band reformed for the first time in 27 years and played a benefit gig for Fox following his diagnosis of lung cancer. Henry Rollins, from Black Flag and his solo efforts. Stood in for Owen, as we mentioned previously. They were supported by a bunch of other people here. Fox died on October 21st of the same year. At the age of 56. Man, that cancer sucks. And apparently they're still out there performing. Keep the party going, fellas. Good to see that there's still the desire and drive in your hearts. Absolutely. Next up is Sad Cafe. Yep, once again, I have no idea who these guys are. So let's take a look and see what they're all about. Sad Cafe, named after the Carson McCulloch book, The Ballad of the Sad Cafe, were formed by members of two Manchester groups, Mandala and Gyro, in 1976. Let's see, nothing else here of interest. Their fourth album, Sad Cafe, was premiered by a special launch in Amsterdam in September 1980 and released in October. It produced another hit single, La Di Da. The band have become one of the finest live groups in the business, and this was recognized in March 1981 with the release of a live album, A History of Sad Cafe, recorded during the Facades Tour of Britain. Okay, move on down here. In August 1980, the band moved from RCA to Polydor for the UK and the rest of the world, and at this point, John Stimson moved into management and was replaced by Des Tong. Alrighty, so what have they been up to lately? Oh wow, it looks like they're still out there doing their thing. Good. Good to see that they're still attracting an audience. Right on, guys, right on. Saxon, yeah, cool. Hey, how can you not like a band with a guy named Biff in it, huh? I can't say that I know a lot of their material, but I have seen the name pop up quite a bit in documentaries and whatnot. Says here in Wikipedia, Saxon have been cited as a major influence or inspiration by numerous bands, including, oh my goodness, Motley Crue, Metallica, Megadeth, Slayer. Man, that is one heck of a list. Very impressive, fellas. Very impressive. And in the book, we have when Saxon released their LP, Wheels of Steel, in May 1980, while heavy metal was making its early impact, few people, apart from its devoted local following, knew much about the Yorkshire band. Wheels of Steel changed that. 18 months later, it was still selling, and the band had carved a niche for themselves in the heavy metal vein. Saxon's follow-up, Strong Arm of the Law, in 1980, enjoyed worldwide success. Okay, very good, very good. Says here, Saxon formed in 1977. Let's see, and released their first LP in late 1979. Saxon are notable for big-scale shows, and their sound has been heard by audiences all over Europe, America, and Japan. Well, good for them. Yeah, here we go. Their fourth album was Denim and Leather, September 1981, and they looked set to cement their reputation as an excellent, skillful rock band. Abso-positively. And yeah, they're still going strong. Hey, the power of rock, am I right? All right, moving on. Scorpions, hells yeah. Big fan of this German band, absolutely. They were very popular among my friends back in high school, and we listened to them very much so at parties and things. Okay, and in the book it says probably Germany's most successful rock band, the Scorpions were formed in 1971 by Rudolf Schechner and his brother Michael, who subsequently joined UFO. See, this is why I don't believe the Scorpions belong in this particular section of the book. 2 years after Michael's defection, the band was reformed with a different lineup, which has changed consistently until the present personnel, stable since 1979. Goes on and says that they did sterling work supporting visiting bands like Chicken Shack, UFO, Manfred Band, oh my goodness, the list goes on. And by 1975, they were touring France and Belgium as support for The Sweet. Oh boy, this just goes on, and let's see, we're at the last part here. Their second Harvest album, Animal Magnetism, was released in 1980 and was generally regarded as their best recorded effort to date. It's 9 songs, all written by Schenker, Rarebell, Miney, Jabs, Yabs, I don't know, show the tight, well-controlled rock sound the band is capable of. The Scorpions cannot yet be called a top-line international band, how wrong you are, sir. But they are a well-respected unit who rarely fail to displease. Okay, well, there you have it. And yeah, check this out. They only list 2 of their albums, Love Drive and Animal Magnetism. Oh boy, talk about no respect. Personally, I think Animal Magnetism is their best album, and I really enjoy cranking it up in my car's tape deck. Remember cassette tapes? Man, I'm old. Anyway, yeah, really good stuff, really good. And I even have the opening riff of The Zoo as my ringtone.
So I got that going for me, which is nice.
They had a few controversies with their album covers in the US, but they switched them up and all was good. Those crusty old Americans. Yep, they're still touring as well. Check this out, 2025 tour dates. Nice. Keep it going, guys. Cheers. Selecter. Interesting name, never heard of them, but let's see what we got here. The Selecter are another of the two-tone bands emanating from the Midlands area, this time Coventry. The band sprang out of the breakup of a local band, Transposed Men, which featured, among others, Noel Davies and John Bradbury, who later joined the Specials. Yeah, we'll talk about them later. Let's see, going down here, yada yada yada. Initially branded a ska revival band, the Selecter showed on record and on gigs, I don't think that's right, that they play all kinds of music from rock to soul to ska to reggae with strong lyrics. And the last paragraph here, unfortunately at press time, it looked as though the Selecter were breaking up. Looks like there was an oopsie in the editing room as the album Too Much Pressure got listed twice. Oh, brother. Okay, according to Wikipedia, the band is called The Selecter, and yeah, they broke up in 1981, but got back together in 1991. The Selecter reformed in 1991 with original members Neil Davies and Pauline Black, along with Bad Manners members Martin Stewart, Nick Welsh, and Perry Marilis. Davies left the band in 1993, but lead vocalist Black continued to perform and release music under the Selecter name until 2006. By 2011, another version of the band featuring Neil Davies was touring separately. In June 2011, Black applied for and won the Selecter trademark and the right to use the name herself. The reformed Pauline Black-led lineup still tours and releases albums under the Selecter name, most recently releasing Human Algebra, the band's 16th studio album, in 2022. I didn't dig too deeply, but it looks like Neil Davies went on to do other stuff, and yeah, Pauline Black continues to tour with the Selecter. Okay, moving on. Sham 69, yet another act I know nothing about. Let's see what we got here. The original Sham 69 was formed in early 1976. The lineup then was Jimmy Percy, Albie Maskell, Andy Nightingale, Johnny Good, and Neil Harris. In June of 1977, 3 members of the band quit, leaving Percy and Maskell. Dave Parsons and Mark Kane joined, and the four began recording material for a single on Step Forward Records. Blah, 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 going down here. Well, this is interesting. The single Borstal Breakout followed, and in early 1978, the debut album Tell Us the Truth was released. By now, Sham 69 had become a pet skinhead band. What? What the heck is a pet skinhead band? I don't know. Any case, which frequently resulted in violence at their gigs. The fact that Percy made it clear that this was anathema to his way of thinking, hey, there's a word you don't see very often, anathema. And apparently it is just a fancy way of saying that something or someone that one vehemently dislikes. Racial hatred was anathema to her. Okay, expand your vocabulary here. In such songs as If the Kids Are United, plus his frequent appeals for peace from the stage, did nothing to deter those with trouble in mind. Violence? At a punk rock show? Yeah, I guess that's what skinheads do, from what I've read anyway. After several more recordings, the band split, reformed, and finally split for good in the spring of 1980, partly as a result of the behavior of their followers. Yeah, I can see that. Jimmy Percy began a solo career, recording Imagination Camouflage in April of 1980 and Alien Orphan a year later. According to Wikipedia, the band broke up and reformed quite a few times, and it looks like they too are still out there performing. Hopefully the skinheads have opted out by this stage. In any case, let's move on. Sushi and the Banshees. Yeah, I'm familiar with the name, and I know how influential they have been to the music scene, but I really can't name even one of their songs. Just not what I'm into. Sorry about that. So let's see, what do we have here? Says that Sushi and the Banshees formed in 1977 with the lineup of Sushi Sue, Steve Severin, Kenny Morris, and Peter Fenton, later replaced by John McKay. Sushi was already a well-known figure on the punk scene, appearing with the Sex Pistols on the now infamous Today television confrontation with Bill Grundy. Yeah, I remember seeing that interview.
Worried, or are you just enjoying yourself?
Enjoying myself.
Are you?
Yeah.
That's what I thought you were doing.
Always wanted to meet you.
Did you really?
Yeah.
We'll meet afterwards, shall we?
Yeah.
Dirty sod. You dirty old man.
Well, keep going, Chick. Keep going. Go on, you've got.
Nothing else really interesting here, so let's head over to Wikipedia and see how they turned out. Alright, during their career, Sushi and the Banshees released 11 studio albums and 30 singles. The band experienced several lineup changes, with Sushi and Severin being the only constant members. They disbanded in 1996, with Sushi and Budgie continuing to record music as The Creatures, a second band they had formed in the early 1980s. In 2004, Sushi began a solo career. Well, good for her. Very nice, very nice. Oh my. On March 4th, 2004, McGeoch died in his sleep, oh man, after an epileptic seizure at the age of 48. Wow. Sushi and Budgie had talked about inviting him to guest with them on stage, oh gosh, before hearing the news. Well, that's tragic. So let's just keep pressing on, shall we? The Skids. Nope, I got nothing. In 1977, Scottish band The Skids were formed with Richard Jobson, Stuart Adamson, Tom Killichan, and Willie Simpson. Their debut single, Charles, prompted Virgin Records to sign the band. The timing of their entry into the music scene, coupled with the power of their earlier recordings, caused them to come to the fore of the emerging New Wave movement. Okie dokie, so now we're going into New Wave. Nothing else really here of significance, so let's just hop to the bottom here. But the band dissolved in February 1982 when Jobson, always the enigmatic protagonist of the band, generating much media attention, decided to concentrate all energies on his various solo activities, including fringe theater acting and writing poetry and songs. And on the Wikipedia side of things, looks like they got together and split up a few times and have been active since 2016. Okay, so there you are. Moving on. Sky. Well, I've never heard of them, but they must be a popular act since the book dedicated so much page coverage to them. So let's take a quick peek at what they're all about. Here we have the band members. John Williams? No, not that John Williams. Herbie Flowers, Steve Gray, Kevin Peake, and Tristan Fry. Okay, going on. Not strictly a rock band, though rock music is part of their Catholic musical repertoire. By the way, Catholic here just simply means diverse. So, yeah, expand your vocabulary. Sky have in truth achieved the almost unachievable. 5 highly respected musicians have come together to fuse their talents in a group. And against past experience of experiments of this sort, it works. It works musically, and these days, as importantly, it works at the box office. The disparate previous careers of the five members do not at first sight suggest the basis of a popular musical group. John Williams is arguably the world's most respected classical guitarist, and a man who came slowly from the classical world to the popular. Herbie Flowers is a jazz/pop musician with a pedigree that includes the excellent Blue Mink. Steve Gray, who replaced original member Francis Monkman on keyboards, has come up through a career that has seen him play sessions for Paul McCartney, Neil Diamond, John Denver, Roger Daltrey, among others. Kevin Peake has made a fine career in session work in the past, featuring on records by Cliff Richard, Shirley Bassey, and Peter Skellern. Percussionist Tristan Fry is another classically trained musician, originally with the London Philharmonic Orchestra, though he has also worked as a session man with luminaries such as Frank Sinatra, Elton John, and Duke Ellington. Okay, so it looks like they have some very talented musicians in the group. Sky were formed in late 1978 by Williams and Flowers, and in December of that year, the first album, Sky, was cut at the famous Abbey Road Studios in London, where the Beatles made most of their records, using no producer but calling on the assistance of two engineers, Tony Clark and Hayden Bendall. Okay, Abbey Road Studios, nice. All right, let's just skip ahead to the last paragraph. Building bridges between musical styles is seldom a way to the big bucks, but Sky have managed to find their way through the maze. The policy of no star lead personality has certainly paid off, and if the overall feeling sometimes lacks the excitement of a fully committed rock band in full flow, at least Sky are a triumph for musicality and an encouragement to all the kiddywinks sweating away over their scales. Oh, I can't stop laughing at that. Dad can at least tell Junior that the pursuit of excellence can bring its rewards. So, let's see if there's anything interesting in good old Wikipedia. Says here, the last performance by Sky was at an RAF tribute concert, wow, in May 1995. Flowers has commented that the last 2 or 3 years were more for the sheer joy of being in that fantastic band. We were still filling out places, but I think we knew it would fizzle out, and we nipped it in the bud before it did. Although the band never formally disbanded, Sky has never since returned to active recording and performance, with the increasing age of surviving members and the deaths of, Steve Gray in 2008, Kevin Peake, 2013, Francis Monkman, 2023, and Herbie Flowers, 2024, making a band reunion unlikely, to say the least. Despite this, Williams expressed interest in a possible reformation in 2016, and it didn't look like that happened because there was no mention of it in the Wikipedia page. With Fry adding in 2024, I don't feel as though we took it as far as we could. It would be a bit difficult, but that's not to say it wouldn't happen. I'd love to, and I know Herbie would too. So there you have Sky. Let's press on. Spandau Ballet. I'm only familiar with their video True, which came out in 1983. I never was a fan of this group, so let's just read a bit from the book, shall we? As a reaction to the economic gloom at the turn of the decade, many young Londoners colored the grayness of recession with a return to the hedonistic nightclubbing decadence and glamour of 70s glam rock. New Romantics or Pretty Pop, Spandau Ballet won friends with their exotic garb and funk-influenced dance music, scoring big with the single Chant No. 1, recorded with the horn section of premier UK R&B outfit Beggar and Company. Let's see, it goes on. Clean and handsome with a flamboyant style of dress, heavily into scarves, neckerchiefs, baubles, bangles, and beads. The band has had a number of hit singles, blah, blah, keep it going, keep it going, keep it going. A new LP, probably to be titled Diamonds, was in preparation at press time. And according to Wikipedia, in the 1990s, the band split up after a disagreement about royalties. Hadley, Norman, and Keeble launched an unsuccessful court case against Gary Kemp for a share of Kemp's songwriting royalties from his work with Spandau Ballet. Well, these things happen. Although they vowed to appeal against the verdict, they later decided against this. Yeah, court proceedings can cost a lot of money. The three non-Kemp members then continued to tour as a trio, but they had to sell their shares in Spandau Ballet's company to Gary Kemp to pay off legal debts. There you go, legal debts. All about lawyers. Because the company owned the rights to the name of Spandau Ballet, the trio had to tour under the moniker Hadley, Norman, and Keeble, ex Spandau Ballet. That's a clever twist of words right there. Okay, moving ahead. The Specials. Yeah, this is a reggae/ska band from England. I only know them from their song Message to You, Rudy. So let's see what their story's all about. Formed mid-77 in Coventry, England, the Specials were forerunners of two-tone music, a racially integrated dance style with roots in reggae, ska, yep, there you go, which identified common concerns of depressed youth cultures, both black and white. Okay, anything else interesting here? Well, this is pretty cool. Neville Staples and Terry Hall, both vocals, and Linval Golding, guitar, had completed plans and were even recording for their debut as Fun Boy 3, who wasted little time in making their mark with the release of dour tragicomedy The Lunatics Have Taken Over the Asylum. The three had further single success, teamed with Bananarama, an all-girl London trio. Now there's a group that definitely belongs in this section of the book. But it goes on, whom they had heard and simply invited to join them on deadpan version of 30 Swing Standard. It ain't what you do, it's the way you do it. Okay, goes on here. Bananarama were also heavily featured on tracks of the trio's debut set, Fun Boy 3. Meanwhile, the much depleted The Specials, now under clear creative control of Dammers, reverted to their early group name, The Specials, aka, to back ex-Body Snatchers vocalist Rhoda on the chilling and controversial The Boiler. Okay, well, there you have The Specials. Split Ends. Yeah, I like their song, I Got You.
I don't know why sometimes I get frightened.
That is a good song. Okay, let's check them out. Split Ends have a strong musical ability and a keen wit. The New Zealand band, hey, good to see some Kiwi representation here, have visited England since the mid-70s and around that time recorded with Phil Manzanera of Roxy Music. That album was Second Thoughts, a follow-up to their debut Mental Notes. Their second visit to Britain started in May 1977 and they stayed 18 months. a period when their styles and their lineup changed somewhat. Original member and prolific songwriter Phil Judd was replaced by Tim Finn. Anything else here we can take a look at here towards the bottom? True Colors, the band's very personal musical ideas into short, catchy pop songs, followed, and a cut, I Got You, there it is, was another hit. Ooh, it went platinum. The Colors album became one of the top 3 all-time sellers in Australia for a local band. The band then signed with A&M Worldwide and produced the LP Waiata, oh my god, I know I'm mispronouncing that, which is Maori for a celebration involving whistling, singing, and stomping. A fitting title. Alright, cool. In case you don't know, the Maori are the original people from New Zealand. So let's just take a look and see how they ended up. Alright, in Wikipedia it says Split Enz played their final show on December 6, 1984 at Logan Campbell Center in Auckland, after which they officially split. Okay, 1984 they split up. Neil Finn and Paul Hester went on to form a new band called the Mullaneys, I think that's how you say that, with bassist Nick Seymour. They had changed their name to Crowded House by the time their self-titled first album was released in 1986. Yeah, I do remember Crowded House. They had a couple of good songs.
Hey now, don't dream it's over. Something so strong could carry us away.
Going on down here to the reunion section, in 1986, 2 years after the Split Enz broke up, they reunited for a Greenpeace benefit concert that was followed by a para concert in Australia in 1989 and 1990. Okay, going on down here, the band reunited in 1993 for their 20th anniversary tour, during which they played at Christchurch, Wellington, and Auckland. They appeared on TV in 2002 to celebrate their 30th anniversary. In 2006, Split Enz toured with a membership consisting of the classic 78 to 81 lineup. And down here at the bottom, another reunion tour followed in March 2008 with 4 shows in New Zealand. A one-off reunion performance took place on March 14th, 2009 as part of the Sound Relief Festival. So there you have Split Enz. Okay, moving on. Squeeze. Yeah, I like these guys. I only know the songs Tempted and Pulling Muscles from a Shell.
Tempted by the fruit of another. Pulling muscles from a shell. Pulling muscles from a shell.
I mean, who could possibly dislike a song with William Tell and Maid Mary in it? Come on now.
And I feel like William Tell made Mary.
Okay, let's see what the book says here. 4 albums and a list of exquisite best-selling singles, all faring well on the UK charts, are the grip this versatile octet has on contemporary music. Formed Deptford, Southeast London, 1974, band emerged on small independent label Deptford, Fun City, with EP Packet of 3 consisting Tilbrook, Difford, Jules Holland on keyboards, Harry Causo, forgive me, on bass, and Lavis. Holland's keyboards and use of rhythm led to comparisons with early Stranglers. Who the heck are they? Karkaluli was replaced same year by John Bentley, and in 1980, Holland quit to pursue solo career. The keyboard vacancy going to Ace member Paul Carrick. Yeah, we talked about this guy in one of my previous videos. Paul Carrick went on to be a member of Mike and the Mechanics with Genesis guitarist Mike Rutherford. Before the release of Impeccable 4th album, East Side Story, which broke group in the US, Carrick left to join Carleen Carter Band, replaced by ex-Sincere Don Snow. So, what are the boys up to these days? Well, according to their Wikipedia entry, they broke up a few times and have been steadily active since 2007. Check this out, they're still going strong, on tour with Boy George. Oh dear, oh dear. Yeah, there's another name that by all means definitely belongs in the 80s section of this book. Never cared for him or Culture Club, to be honest, but they were popular back in the olden days. In any case, there we have Squeeze. Shakin' Stevens. Kinda reminds me of someone. Oh, who could it be? The name's on the tip of my tongue, but... Anywho, I don't know anything about this guy, so let's go see what the book has. Shakin' Stevens is the classic rock stereotype, the overnight success who took over a decade or more to make it. An old-style 50s imitative rocker, Stevens had been playing the small clubs and halls for years before a single, This Old House, itself a 50s classic, originally a hit for Rosemary Clooney, gave him a chart success and a prominence that had been elusive before. A highly effective live performer in the Elvis swivel hip style, Shakin' played the king himself in the London West End run of Elvis, the show spawned by the untimely death of Presley. Well, at least they admit that there is some similarity between the two of them. In any case, the theatrical showcase caught the eye of British TV men, and Stevens became one of the regulars in the Oh Boy TV series, another revival of a hit rock and roll TV series of the 50s. Rock nostalgia was riding high, and Shakin' Stevens was one of the artists to benefit. Okay, so moving down here, see what else we can come up with at the last paragraph here. An exciting, if what a burn. An exciting, if unoriginal performer adapting an art form of the 50s to the nostalgia-ridden 80s, Shakin' Stevens has still, has still not proved he has longevity laced into those wobbly legs and the denim-threatening gyrations. Oh man, that's gotta hurt. Alrighty, let's see what we can find in Wikipedia. Turns out his real name is Michael Barrett? Michael Barrett? I'm not really sure how you would pronounce that. Also, it says here in 2023, Stevens released the follow-up to Echoes of Our Times, titled Reset. The album was preceded by 2 singles, It All Comes Out, and the BBC radio play listed All You Need Is Greed. Well, that's an interesting title, which came out with a video. The album entered the UK charts at number 24. In March 2023, Stevens made a cameo appearance in The Cleaner as Shakin' Stevens, a Shakin' Stevens tribute act. Okay, so he played himself, playing himself in a TV show. Well, okay, it is what it is. So there we have Shakin' Stevens. Who's next? Stiff Little Finger. Nope, no idea. So let's dig into the book's entry. Formed in Belfast in 1978 amid the troubles of the Ulster Province, SLF would have been called a protest band a few years ago because their music does just that. Protests. But not without wit and musicality. The band emerged from the smoking ruins of Belfast by financing their own first single, Suspect Device / Wasted Life, on Rapid Digit Records, the label's only release. The reaction was good. The single was subsequently included on a do-it-yourself album that sold more than 100,000 copies. The band made its English debut in late summer 1978 at the Electric Ballroom in London and went on to tour as support for the Tom Robinson Band. Yeah, who can forget those guys? Okay, and to wrap it up, says here, Stiff Little Fingers have also appeared in a BBC TV, Play for Today, and a Belfast concert has been filmed by BBC Northern Ireland. Okay, and what do we have in Wikipedia? Looks like it only goes up to 2013. But I did see that they're still active, with Burns and McMorty being the only original members. Here are tour dates for 2025. Alright guys, keep it going. Next up, Styx. Yeah, I strongly disagree with their inclusion in this particular section of the book. Styx were very popular among my high school friends, and we played the hell out of the Grand Illusion album. It's one of those rarities with great songs from beginning to end that's not part of a compilation album. There's no filler whatsoever on the Grand Illusion. It's great from beginning to end. I still enjoy this particular record, but others like Equinox and Pieces of Eight are still bangers as far as I'm concerned. Paradise Theater is pretty good too. According to the book, it says here, away from music industry hype, American rock band Styx from Chicago, Illinois, have over the past decade become one of the finest exponents of exciting creative music. Over the past decade, you are referring to the 70s, my good sir. Come on, guys, get it together. It goes on and reads, the Styx story begins as far back as 1963, when brothers Chuck and John Panozzo started to play together with neighbor Dennis Young. 5 years later, joined by, oh no, that's Dennis D. Young. Oh, come on, people. 5 years later, joined by guitarist James Young and John Kurlewski, I'm pretty sure I slaughtered that name, later replaced by Tommy Shaw, they became the Trade Winds and started playing around the Chicago area. Okay, going down here, we all know about all the rest of this stuff. There's Equinox, Crystal Ball. Wow, undertook a massive 200-day tour. Oof. Here we are, Styx's 7th album, The Grand Illusion, July 1977, was the first produced by the band itself. It sold more than 3 million copies and produced the next hit single, Come Sail Away. Then we also have mention of Pieces of Eight with Blue Collar Man and, yeah, Renegade. I think the Steelers use that in their football games. Yeah, Cornerstone, never much cared for that record. The last paragraph here, a decade of major musical achievements have made Styx one of the finest professional, exciting rock bands to be heard in any hall. There has been quite a lot of drama between Dennis DeYoung and the others as they broke up, reunited, broke up, and are now currently performing and recording with Tommy Shaw, James Young, and a couple of other guys I really don't care too much about, to be honest. John Panozzo died from liver problems due to his excessive drinking in 1996. Thanks for the good music, bro. Chuck Panozzo joins Styx from time to time, even after he was diagnosed with HIV back in 1991, which turned into fully blown AIDS in 1998. Hang in there, man. Hang in there. I did manage to see Styx when they performed in Billings, Montana during their Kilroy Was Here tour. The stupid ticket guy gave me back the wrong end of my ticket. So my friend Steve French drew in the Styx wording on the stub. Thanks, bro. Our last entry for today is Donna Summer. Again, I strongly disagree with her entry in this particular section of the book, as she was absolutely huge throughout the 70s. So let's go ahead and read a bit from the book. Born in Boston, Massachusetts, Donna based herself in Germany. Oh, I didn't know that. Where she spent the early 70s modeling and singing in the German production of Hair. Cool. It was in 1975 that she launched herself and the concept of sex rock with the self-penned heavy breather Love to Love You Baby. Yeah, I remember that song, and there's absolutely no denying her sex appeal here. Oh yeah. Her work with Giorgio Moroder produced a plethora of disco hits, and even though I'm not a disco fan, the song I Feel Love has some dynamite synth work in it, no doubt. Back to the book. The song's immediate success, particularly in the disco mecca New York, paved the way for a succession of similarly titillating singles, via which Donna established herself in the twin superlative roles Queen of Disco and Sex Goddess of Pop. Donna retained those honorary titles with phenomenal sustained success throughout the 70s. Although her popularity was in some way dependent on the prevailing mania for disco, her marketability among a non-specialist audience was amply demonstrated by the success of her one-off duet with Barbra Streisand, Enough is Enough. And indeed, her aim has always been to evolve into an all-round entertainer. She reached a peak of artistic achievement with the album Bad Girls, and then almost immediately threw it away, debuting on Geffen Records with the mediocre The Wanderer. Interesting how there's no mention of Moroder in this entry. Well, I'm not really surprised, to be honest. Giorgio is still quite active, and he gave an interview to Variety, wow, only back in 2023. Cool, bro. Keep the vibes alive. Sadly, we lost Donna back in 2012, but we'll always have her music to shake our booties to. Rest in peace, Your Highness. Well, that should wrap up another group of entries in this section of the book. Let me know what you think, and be sure to subscribe to this channel. Don't worry about notifications or nothing like that. Just help me get monetized if you could. If you'd like to toss me $1 or $2 in order to help me out financially, my PayPal information is in the description below. Until next time, keep on rockin'.